Hello and thank you for watching. My name is Dominator and today I will be showing you version 2 of my Generation 1 Constructicons. Now, my first attempt at a Generation 1 Constructicon set was not the best. It's up on my channel if you want to go look at that video and roast me in the comments, because honestly those guys are kind of terrible. But fortunately now I came up with these guys, and I'm pretty happy with how they came out. So without further ado, I will show these guys off individually. First, we have the leader of the Constructicons, Scrapper. I think he came out pretty decent. The back is a little bit too big, but that's not exactly too big a deal. The bucket has slight articulation, but cannot articulate too far upward due to the connection here. And obviously the cab that holds nothing, but I think there are a lot of Constructicon sets that do that, so that's not bad. Getting him into his robot mode. Now, as you can see, he looks far more accurate to the G1 cartoon and comics in terms of his proportions, colors, and general build. Looks more humanoid than my last versions, which were basically abstract blocks in the vague shapes of humans. So yeah, that's a big upgrade already. Managed to include most of the details that help you recognize that this is indeed Scrapper, like the sort of barreled chest here with the ridge in the center. I also wanted to include the red visors on all of their heads, and I think I did a good job at letting you know that this is Scrapper's head by just having this point here. But all in all, I think he's a pretty good model. That's kind of all there is to say about him, so I'll move on to Hook. So here is Hook in his crane mode. I actually managed to include both the cabs here. The entire thing is supposed to rotate on the real model, but that's not the case here. It's just the crane itself that rotates and articulates up and down. There is his head exposed on the back, but it's not too noticeable, and since it's red, you could easily just say it's a tail light. But onto Hook's robot mode. So here is Hook in his robot mode. It looks good, but I'm not exactly a fan of all the anti-studs on it. I'm not really sure what I could have done about that. I suppose I could have left the anti-studs on this side, but I wanted to keep the crane mode smooth for combined mode. Yet more compromises, just like last time. But I think it looks pretty decent. You know, in the Constructicon set, you can definitely tell that this is Hook. And for his head, I used the jumper plate to give him that very pompous visor that he has. And he has this crane here that I don't really know what to do with on the back. It is accurate to his G1 design. I just don't know why they left it on. Like, they have Optimus's wheels magically disappearing. They have Bumblebee's proportions shifting around, but they didn't get rid of this just hanging out there. I don't know. People who design G1 are kind of weird sometimes. Yeah. So that's pretty much all there is for Hook. He's a good model, but I still can't forgive him because he called Soundwave unchrasmatic. But I digress. Here is Mixmaster. Mixmaster was actually my best one last time. In fact, I had a comment that said they don't like all of them, but they like Mixmaster. So I didn't have to change too much from the previous model. I just gave him some actual proportions and try to make them look more like the real cement mixer. So I had the actual mounting point for the cement drum back here, which does not attach here at all, which is inaccurate because it's really supposed to be mounted like this, but the pouring section is supposed to be right there, so it all works. So I'll get Mixmaster into his robot mode. So here is Mixmaster in robot mode, and he actually has my favorite robot mode of all of them, because I just really like this little section above his head that has the guns on it. It's such a ridiculous design, but it really works for the character. Other than that, it looks in line with the other ones. I kind of forgot to mention posability with the other ones, but I mean, they're ball joints. They do what ball joints do. Obviously, I mean, there's a ratcheted waist on this one, but the other ones did not have that, so yeah. Got the cement drum on his back here, as he's supposed to, and he just looks like a mad little scientist. Didn't have to do much to make his head stand out, considering that it's encased in this thing, but yeah. Moving on to Bone Crusher. Now, Bone Crusher is actually a bulldozer this time around. I don't know why. All the other forms of Transformers media can't seem to get that right. Or I guess they always change it. Not that it's incorrect to have him being something else, but yeah. I think he definitely has the weakest alt mode of any of these guys. His head is obviously just chilling out right there. But yeah, I included his cartoon accurate green treads, which look ridiculous, but it's part of the character. So, yep, transforming once again. So here is Bone Crusher in his robot mode. I said he's the weakest alt mode, but he kind of has the weakest robot mode as well, just because the ridiculous torso here. I mean, it's cartoon accurate, but it just, man, that is one strange looking character. His head gives off the vibe of him, though. I used the triangular slope piece for him because he has a very flat head, flat and long. Basically nothing in the way of kibble on him, well, besides this whole thing, but that's actually supposed to be there. He's just kind of plain looking, to be honest. There's really nothing to say about him, so I'll move on to one of my favorites that I designed besides Mixmaster, Scavenger. Scavenger looks great in his, I guess it's like a digger of some kind. He has this thing, which unfortunately cannot actually reach the ground. It does not have enough articulation for that. But, you know, small things. His hands are obviously exposed right there, but, yeah. Once again. So here is Scrapper in his robot mode, and he's probably the most accurate looking of the Constructicons. With his dorky purple pants and his flat green planes, he just really gives off the vibe of that loser from the cartoon. You can give him the cartoon accurate tail shovel, which I mean, it's accurate, but it really is just dumb. I always choose to give him the scorpion shovel, just because that looks cooler and more interesting. But, yeah. Finally, we have Long Haul. Long Haul is I don't know. I want to say one of the best vehicle mode executions here. Objectively, just because, like, he just looks like a dump truck. Almost doesn't even look like he transforms. The dump truck actually even works, too. Granted, it's a little bit crooked because the ball joints in his legs there, but yeah. He's not quite supposed to have that engine block exposed, but it's not too bad. In fact, I actually had a toy dump truck when I was a kid that had a engine block like that, so if anything, that's just nostalgic for me. Last transformation of the current Constructicons. So here is long haul in robot mode, and probably not the best executed in robot mode. Very weird proportions. Honestly, kind of reminds me of the G1 Ironhide / Ratchet toy. But could be worse. It has the general build of the character, and actually looks like him. His head is kind of small and indescriptive in the cartoon. It's just like, you know, gray dome with a red visor. So that's kind of all I really needed here to make it long haul. So getting a line up here. So now that they're all transformed into phase 1, it's time to transform them into phase 2. But there is one unfortunate fact about the transformation into Devastator for these guys. That's right, this guy is a parts former. My last one was a parts former, but it was only the chest plate, hands, and head. That's all I allowed myself to do. But this time I just went all out and just made this big piece right here, which I suppose if you're Hasbro, you could say that this is just the base mode. I just kind of call it the stuff cobbled together so I don't lose it. But yeah. So I suppose, like, while I have this, I can give you a closer look at... never mind. This is Devastator's gun. Not much to say about it. It's a gun. Let's get this transformed. So here is Devastator in his combined mode, and as you can see, he is a very large lad. Just to give you an idea of scale, here he is compared to a minifigure. Here he is compared to Optimus Prime. And here he is compared to one of my older models, Fortress Maximus. So, as you can see, he is quite the big boy. Actually, forgot to add his gun from earlier. Just wrap his fingers around there. He is not exactly the most posable thing, but he does at least have the articulation necessary to pull off a walking pose. As well as that, he has elbows and shoulder articulation, as well as the fact that his fingers can move. This has easily become one of my new favorite MOCs that I've built. Like, I know that size isn't everything, but, like, look at him compared to all my other Titan figures. There's no competition. He kicks the slag out of all of them. It towers over everything in my collection. Except the Lego Optimus Prime, which is good because I would not sleep well at night if that was not keeping this thing in check. But while we're looking at all my models I've built this year, I think this is a good time to reflect on the fact that this is probably my last video that I'll be making this year. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support that I've gotten throughout this year. And I hope you guys all have a good New Year's Eve. God bless you.